Many years ago, in the village of Oba, there was a very strict rule that guided the people, keeping them in harmony and making them have peace amongst themselves. This rule was that no family was entitled to the throne. Every family had a fair right to the throne, provided a son won the tax that was carried out by the able men of Oba. The tax was always carried out when it was time to choose a new king. All the able men of Oba would go to the evil forest and search for a particular item the elders of the land had chosen for them for that period. In this beautiful community of Oba, the current king, being King Onyema, had a very handsome son named Ikenga. Ikenga was a very handsome and hardworking prince. Ikenga was greatly admired by so many. And when it was time to choose a new king, the people of Oba had pleaded that Ikenga took over the throne, but most of the villagers refused, stating that no one can come and change what had guided their forefathers. The rule had always been that whosoever wins the tax was going to be the next king. So they can't just wake up one day and decide that Ikenga should take over the throne. With this, Ikenga and his best friend Uzoma walked hand in hand towards getting the staff that was asked of them to get. While in the evil forest, it was a very scary ride, as the forest was dark. The trees were tall. Most young men died on the way. It was a very, very tedious one for them. Even though they had been trained prior to their journey, most men died. Others died out of hunger. Some others died out of sickness. It wasn't just a tax for whoever that wasn't prepared. And after a very long, tedious 7 days that felt like a year, Ikenga returned with the staff of honor that was asked of them to go look for. And after Ikenga had returned, 3 days later, Uzoma, his best friend, returned, as Ikenga and Uzoma had separated in the bush unknown to them. The plan was that whosoever gets the staff will be the king, and his friend will take over as the chief advisor. After Uzoma looked around the bush for so many days and did not see Ikenga, he even blew the flute they had. That was a sign that whoever gets the staff should blow the flute so that the other could know and return back. But Ikenga blew the flute and Uzoma did not hear. So when Ikenga returned, after Uzoma blew the flute for so many days and did not hear any response, he decided to return home, knowing fully well that the staff had been taken by someone, be it Ikenga or any other person. But on returning, he found out that the staff was taken by Ikenga. They were both excited that one of them had gotten the staff. So, while they prepared to crown Ikenga the king, Ikenga had promised Uzoma that he shouldn't worry, that since he is king now, his son will also be king next time. Uzoma was excited, holding on to Ikenga's words, believing that it was going to come to pass as he had said. Ikenga ruled the people of Oba greatly. Peace and harmony. There was no war, no fight. There was never a time they had famine. Ikenga took after his father. The people of Oba admired his greatness. They admired his rule, as Ikenga was a very wise king. Before he passed any judgment, he was going to make sure he understood the both parties before giving any judgment. The people of Oba loved his reign and looked forward to who was going to be the next king. While the able men of Oba prepared for the next tax, most of the villagers had pleaded that they didn't want the tax anymore, as the tax was rendering most of the young men's life in danger. Most of them don't return back after carrying out this tax. They all came together and agreed that Ikenga's son, Azuka, should take over and become the next king. Losing the lives of young men wasn't something they wanted, as the young men in the village weren't even enough. So who will their daughters get married to if they lose half of the men while they are going to search for a staff or for a crown? They all pleaded with the elders of the land that Azuka should please take over and become the next king. And if Azuka's rule wasn't great, they will appoint the next king. They pleaded that whosoever sits on the throne should be appointed and no longer by carrying out a tax. So the elders of the land sat down and thought about it. The people had brought their pain to them. It is true that this was a rule that had governed their forefathers. But thinking about it, most men had been lost. The lives of most able men had been lost because of the search for a staff or something in the evil forest. It was better that the people come in agreement and choose who was going to rule over them. And whosoever they choose, if the person wasn't doing right, they had the power to bring the person down and choose another person. And after the elders had given this a very good thought, they decided to oblige to what the people had asked them, as they were the voice of the people. So the elders went to meet the king, King Ikenga, and they spoke to him about what the people had suggested. Ikenga, being a very fair man, wanted to hear it from the people's mouths. And when the people accepted that that was what they wanted, Ikenga told his son, Azuka, what the people had said, and said he cannot go against his people. If the people want Azuka to be the king, so shall it be. And the villagers chanted, Isi. And when Ikenga was done talking to the villagers and returning back to his chamber, he noticed displease in Uzoma's face. Uzoma quickly reminded him of his words. You promised that my son was going to be the next king. And we all agreed that they were going to go to the evil forest as promised. We agreed that we were going to talk to the children. So as your son Azuka was going to help my son Aina to become the next king. That was what we agreed. So why have you changed your mind all of a sudden? Ikenga tried to explain to his friend Uzoma that this wasn't what he wanted. This wasn't his voice, but what the people want. And he told Uzoma, in order to be a good leader, you have to give the people what they want. I know that I had made agreement with you, but whatsoever I have in this kingdom, that is what you have. I have never treated you like a right-hand man. I give you the free will to make opinion. I make you feel free. To the people, you are more like a second king to them. So our kids can live that way. Uzoma was so offended and he told Ikenga, what do you mean by that? Even if I have been given a free will to speak, all the contribution I have given to you and I have brought to the chamber gave a productive result. It is different from being a right-hand person as sitting on the throne. To the people, you're the king. Who bows to me? No one. So we should stick to our agreements. Don't come and change it and try to push it to the people. And who even told you that I believe you? Do I know if you have decided to talk to the people behind me, pleading with them that your son should take over as the king, and trying to buy them away with the lies that men are dying in the evil forest? Ikenga was so upset and told Uzoma, what do you mean? Out of the 20 men that was sent during our batch, how many returned? We were barely 4 because the last person came back crippled. What do you mean by I went to talk to the people? I did not. I was on my own when the elders of the land came to meet me and told me that this is what the people said. I did not go to talk to anyone. That is what the people want, and we should learn to give them what they want, because without these people, we cannot be king. Uzoma was highly offended, highly disappointed in what was coming out from Ikenga's mouth, because this wasn't the agreement right from day one. The agreement was that whosoever becomes king, the other person's son was going to take over. And now Ikenga is trying to betray his words. Ikenga is trying to lie. Uzoma told him that can't happen. If your son takes on the crown, there will be war. Ikenga looked at him and said, there won't be any war because the people want him and not your son Eyina. If they wanted Eyina, they would have chosen Eyina. And my son is going to rule and rule greatly. That night, while Ikenga was sitting on his bed, he recalled all that had happened and he knew that he had betrayed his friend Uzoma. But this wasn't his fault as he had not even spoken to the villagers. They decided on their own and had come to meet him. How was he going to pass this information to Uzoma so that Uzoma doesn't feel betrayed? The next day, he called Uzoma and he told Uzoma, please and please, I want us to get to another agreement. I don't want to fail the people. I don't want it to be like as if I don't have a stand. If my son never gave birth to an heir, your son is going to rule over the people of Oba. Please, let us come to this agreement so that we remain friends and we live in peace as we've always done. Uzoma looked at him and said, so if your son gave birth to a son, uncle, does that mean that my son will never ascend the throne? Or does that mean my lineage will never ascend the throne? Ikenga looked at him and said, even if my son gives birth to a son, your son will still be there. They both shook hands in agreement and they departed ways. After Ikenga was done meeting Uzoma, he quickly went to his son Azuka and told him the agreement he had with Uzoma. Azuka wasn't comfortable with it and told him, Papa, you've lived your life. My reign is going to be different from yours. I am going to choose my people. But I don't think I'm going to stick with your agreement. As if I should give birth to a son, and if the people want my son to be king, I won't choose otherwise. I won't go and choose Eyina's son over my own son. Ikenga looked at him and said, you see this staff that I had brought home? It was through the help of Uzoma I was able to bring it back. And that was why we made the agreement. So I really want you to understand and I want you to walk in line with what I have told you. Azuka thought about this for days. Why will his father go and agree such a thing? What if he gave birth to a son? Does that mean after giving birth and after ruling, he was going to leave the palace? So what if they don't want Eyina's son? Was he going to be the king that was going to give up his throne for a bad rule? After thinking about it, he told himself, when I become king, I will change the rule and the agreement that they had. Azuka kept on being friends with Uzoma's son, Eyina. Uzoma, who was a very mischievous man, advised his son, Eyina, to go get married to the lady he felt Azuka loved. In this beautiful village of Oba, there lived two twins, Oluchi and Oluido. Oluchi is a very calm one, very, very polite, very nice, and barely even came out of her home. Oluido was the chaka-chaka body. She loved to be noticed. She was a very pretty lady and everyone admired her. Azuka was very close to the two twins, though he hadn't made his interest known to anyone. To Oluchi, she felt that Azuka loved Oluido, as most times when Prince Azuka came around, Oluido was always flaunting herself around him. Uzoma, the mischievous man, quickly went to make moves on Oluido. He asked his son to go pay the bride price of Oluido, to which Eyina did, as he genuinely loved Oluido, and he felt that his friend also loved Oluido, and whosoever made his or her interest known was the right person to get married to her. So Eyina quickly went to sell a plot of his land and got married to Oluido. After he got married, Azuka came to congratulate him and even wished him well. Unlike what he expected, he thought that Azuka was going to tell him he got married to the lady he loved, but Azuka did not say anything. Azuka wished him well and prayed that they lived long and happily. And on the third market day, Prince Azuka went to pay the bride price of Oluchi, the lady he had genuinely loved. Oluchi was a very calm, beautiful lady and very, very talented. Oluchi loved to draw, and her drawing came from inspiration. She wasn't drawing something because she just saw. The moment she gets inspired, she begins to draw. And her drawing felt like reality, as most things she drew felt like they were going to come to life. She was drawing from the depth of her heart. Her parents never liked it, but she kept up to it, as that was her passion, and that was something that gave her joy. Prince Azuka, whenever he visited them, always gradually looked at her, admiring her from a distance. And he was so glad when his friend Iyina got married to Olwedu, giving him the chance to express his feelings to the one he had always loved, being Oluchi. After Prince Azuka got married to Oluchi, he ascended the throne as the king. And after he ascended the throne as the king, his friend Iyina became his right-hand man, as their both fathers had plotted. Left for Azuka, he wasn't going to use Iyina as his right-hand man, knowing fully well that there was something involved. He was too scared to use Iyina, but he believed that their friendship was way stronger than that of their parents. So he just accepted, believing that Iyina was going to be a better person. As Azuka ruled and reigned, Oba was living happily. The people of Oba loved his rule, as Azuka was better off than his father. Azuka guided the people. Azuka protected the people. But something that troubled King Azuka's heart was the fact that his wife had not even given birth to a son. Not like Oluchi had not given birth before, but all the kids she had given birth to always died the day they were born. It was like a strange misery that was occurring. Even though Azuka believed that she knew something, but Oluchi never knew. Her drawings and paintings could not give her her answer. Whenever she drew, she couldn't figure out what was going on. And one day, Oluchi decided to go meet her husband, and she spoke to her husband. Was there any agreement you had with someone? And Azuka told her no, none that I remember of. And she said, no problem. We will keep trying, but I must give birth to a child for you.